Welcome to Got Grass, conversations with the legends and leaders of Bluegrass. You've enjoyed live Bluegrass at Guitar Town CT concerts in Hampton, Connecticut since 2008. From Tony Rice, Rouse Stanley, and Doyle Lawson to Tim O'Brien, Sierra Hall, and Billy Strings. Now you can go behind the scenes as we chat with your favorite Bluegrass stars. I'm your podcast host, Chris Worth. So I'm happy to welcome Jake Workman to Got Grass today. Welcome, Jake.
Yes, thanks, Chris, for having me. I appreciate it.
I usually start these conversations by asking musicians, what is a perfect day off like for you when the guitar isn't around, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, no, there is. I think taking breaks is good, and I don't I don't always take enough of a break. I'm pretty obsessed about the guitar. I love it. I love to learn and soak it in. But I also know that taking a day off is good for your hands. It's good for your brain to just get away from it. My perfectionism just doesn't want to let me do that. But man, for me these days, just a day off, wearing sweatpants and staying home with the kids, goofing around, building forts, and watching movies or something. I mean, that's all I'd want to do. That's just the best.
Yeah.
So, for me, it's not going out and doing anything busy. It's just being home with freedom. You know, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Are you from Utah originally, or?
Yep, Utah's home. Utah's home.
Yeah, yeah.
We lived in Tennessee for 4 years or so, as I played with Ricky Skaggs for some of those years, and then beyond. I kept playing with him even from Utah for another 3.5 years or so, or whatever it was. But yeah, Utah's home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I should mention that you and your wife Rebekah, who is also a very fine musician, for those who don't know, I think you have 4 kids now. Is that correct? Am I right on that?
Yeah, 4 kids.
4 kids.
The oldest is he just turned 5 in September, and the youngest is 5 months.
Wow, that's impressive.
It's nuts. Yeah. It's chaos around here, but and they're a lot of work, but so much fun, and I wouldn't go back to not having them. That's for sure.
Do you live in out kind of in the sticks a bit, or are you in town, or
a little bit? Yeah, the town we live in is where my wife is from. Little spot called Oak City, Utah, and we live. This is where Rebekah grew up, basically, and a lot of good people here. We don't. You're not gonna do any kind of shopping here, really. You could drop off a package at the post office. That's about it. And then there's the neighborhood. We do have a nice park in the center of town. The kids love to go there and play around, and so it's a great little community, great spot to raise a family, and I love being out of the way a bit, out of the city. It spoils you every time I have to go up to Salt Lake, which is often enough. I'm always like, man, I'm so glad I don't live here anymore. Or Nashville, I'm glad to be gone from all that mess.
Yeah. So when you were growing up as a kid, were you listening to a lot of music, family music, or just stuff on the radio and CDs and stuff? The
radio for sure when I was a kid. I mean, I didn't have any connection to bluegrass music specifically. I just listened to, I liked music. I loved anything my dad had. He had old records and CDs, and so I found them, I discovered them and started listening to them myself, and got into the Beatles was a big one for me when I was young. So the Beatles and many classic rock bands from Boston to Journey. I loved Van Halen and AC/DC. You know, I got into that stuff way before I got into bluegrass, and but yeah, I think the Beatles would be like the main band. When I was real little, I just loved the Beatles. I was a gymnast, and so I had this. My dad had this thing where he'd bribe me. You know, like, hey, if you learn that new move on high bar, we'll get you Abbey Road or whatever, and so I had this thing where I was earning all the Beatles CDs until I completed the collection by doing new skills within my gymnastics world, and so that was fun, kind of a fun thing. So yeah, and that was way before I played guitar. I was way into the Beatles. I was so excited to throw on headphones in the car or on a road trip or whatever and listen to the Beatles. So it was definitely them. But then I got into a lot of other stuff later on. But and man, yeah. And then the Beatles I like still, but they're it's like to me sometimes it's weird that I liked him more than other things when I could have been listening to Boston. I like Boston better than the Beatles now, but I love Journey better than the Beatles now, or whatever. I just, and I don't listen to classic rock like that much today. You hear it on the radio and stuff. And I studied it when I was learning like electric guitar back in high school and whatnot. So I got into it, and then I got into like the '80s kind of heavier, shredding world there for a while, and I still enjoy, doing that just for fun. I really do. I think it taught me how to play fast, is what it did. And but when I found bluegrass, for real, that really took hold. I felt like acoustic guitar in the bluegrass world has a special thing about it that's always caught my attention. It's got like that. It's got some rock and rollness to it that I loved when I was little, but it's just, it's hillbilly rock and roll or something. I love it. It's the best.
It's funny that I'm a lot older than you. I'm 72, but I grew up. My memory of the Beatles on Ed Sullivan Show when I was 10 years old is probably my biggest memory of my entire life. And I adored the Beatles. I still do listen to the Beatles all the time, but I listen to a lot of stuff too, jazz, classical, and I got into bluegrass pretty late in my life too. I got in through Tony Rice. I was probably in my late 20s when I first heard Tony Rice. Yep. I didn't even know who Bill Monroe was. I just thought Tony Rice, that was bluegrass to me. I was like, whoa, this is the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Can we talk a little bit about your time with Ricky Skaggs? I was thinking that our listeners would enjoy hearing about what a day was like traveling and performing with such a famous band, the bus and the whole. Like, could you go through a day with the Ricky Skaggs and his band? Just what was it like?
It was a great experience. I mean, Ricky's a great boss. He's good to his bandmates. He loved us and valued us and appreciated us. That's why he wanted to have the best in his band, and I think he always has, really. We'd meet the bus at midnight in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and near his studio, and then the bus would pick us up, and we'd have a bus driver. We often didn't have the same driver. Sometimes it was a different driver, on a lease sort of situation with these buses. But we'd ride through the night to wherever and wake up and go into the hotel to grab a shower and whatever, and then usually have a little time to kill. I'd go into the hotel and I'd teach lessons online like I do anyway. I'd throw my laptop on the bed there and I'd teach 3 or 4 hours of lessons some days, then grab a shower and then hop on the bus at bus call. We'd go to the venue and get set up for sound check, and all the while, I mean, through everything, there was always guys in the band that just have great senses of humor and just a lot of laughs and fun. And Ricky's got a great sense of humor. He's a nut, and I just love him to death. And I always loved that he would play the mandolin just all the time. He was obsessive about it. To this day, he just loves it. He just adores it. And he'd be in the back of the bus in his little lounge playing mandolin, and it'd be like 1:00 in the morning, and we're already rolling down the road, and he ain't gone to bed yet, and he's playing. It's pretty cool. But I spent a lot of time on the road with a guitar in my hand because I wanted to, for one, but especially in the last few years, I've only been gone from the band for a year now. I was there until the end of November last year. These last few years, having kids at home, makes the practice time a little less available, I guess. I make it happen. I stay up late, and I'm tired the next day and whatever. I had I posted a video the other day and I didn't even realize it, but I was looking at my screen while I played, and so you could really see my eyes well from my camera, and they were all watery and bloodshot, and some guys wondering if I'd been smoking weed, or whatever. And it's like, no, actually, I'm just a tired dad, and I make practice time by staying up late or getting up early or whatever, and maybe for the worse, sacrificing some sleep, but I make sure it happens. But anyway, when I was still with Ricky, I always looked at that time on the road as, this is my time, I'm not going to waste a moment. So I play guitar all day, every day. I always have something on my mind that I'm working on, or I just want to hold it. I just want to be with it, be familiar with it. So come showtime, I feel like I'm there, And so I played a lot. That was a day for me on the road. It was a lot of playing. But we'd sound check, and sometimes we'd spend 15 minutes. Sometimes we'd spend a whole hour, and we could run things that Ricky wanted to run that were new, or we might just review just play something just to get the sound dialed in that we know real well. You know, we don't always have to. He didn't want to wear us out before the show, so we didn't always, you know, have a crazy long sound check or anything. But man, we used ear monitors and had, you know, great gear and great sound guys. So we always had just, you know, it's like a wonderfully mixed record in your ears every night. It was a joy. It spoils you, you know, it really spoils you. And I do, you know, sometimes miss that on other gigs I might do that are less top tier, I guess. But man, what a good experience. And then Ricky's always great to bring in a crowd and have a good show. I just enjoyed it from top to bottom. It was so much fun, and it was the brand of bluegrass that I like best. I'm not into the jam band thing as much, or I don't know, or the newgrass stuff. Ricky always just rode this nice line that I loved, you know, traditional bluegrass, but done a little more modern and polished up, you know, and great harmonies. Everything's tight and clean, and groove is in focus, you know. It's just man, he just cultivated this sound. Kentucky Thunder is a brand of bluegrass, and I think it was growing up. It was my favorite stuff to listen to, and I always said I just want to be as good as those guys in Ricky's band. I don't have to be in that band. I don't think that call will ever come, but I just want to be that good. And lo and behold, the call came. So, you know, but yeah, man.
Yeah. So when you're getting ready to play at a gig, do you have a routine you go through, warm up and stretching your hands, or does it depend on how you're feeling, or?
It's not anything set. I don't have a set routine, that's for sure. I just play and try, and usually I preach that even if you're going to play with Ricky Skaggs, and you might have to play a couple songs at 180 beats per minute, or some shows, that doesn't mean that backstage prior to the show you need to be woodshedding at 180 beats per minute. It's not like that for me. It's kind of like my real fast, real clean, real dialed playing usually comes about with a slow simmer kind of warm up where I just kind of play something easy and mellow and slow, and I remind myself of how to calibrate, you know, calibrating my pick grip, my left hand pressure, my just little things like that to where I get to know my instrument again. And I think every day you need to recalibrate a little bit, readjust a little bit. And so I found that sometimes if I gave myself the time, I would just sit back and play easy stuff from, you know, cross-picking chords at a very slow tempo to, you know, playing a few fiddle tunes or just writing tunes. That's where I sometimes was the most inspired, is where I got in this nice headspace of writing tunes, which I've been doing a good bit lately in the last couple of years. I've got plans to get the next record done here, but hasn't happened yet. But yeah, sometimes I would write, you know, and just not stress. In other words, all these things, none of them are necessarily stressing over, oh man, I got to play really fast here in a couple hours with Ricky. I better warm up and get playing really fast right now. It's not the case. It's, for me, it's like just getting to know my instrument again and getting loose, getting warm, getting the blood flowing. I always know that when I can see, which I don't right now, but when I can naturally see like the veins kind of popping in my hand, I'm warm. I've been, you know, go for a run or whatever you got to do to make that happen. Sometimes that means the fingers will be ready. More so than like a cold Monday morning at home, you know. It's like I got no incentive to like get the blood flowing. So sometimes it takes half the day before I play like I want. But, you know, it's like, just anything. I'm human and I want to be warmed up, but I don't want to overdo it before the show. I've done that too. I've played too hard before the show and felt that I kind of had spent my energy already a little bit. So there's a line you want to, but I did spend all my time. The more I'm just holding my guitar, the more I just know it. I'm just one with it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So just being with it all day is kind of how I would warm up for a show as much as I could.
Yeah. I was watching a concert video I think it was from Romp 2018. And I was looking at Mike Barnett, and Mike is a fiddle player who actually played up here at Guitar Town a few times. And then he had that brain aneurysm. And have you been in touch with Mike at all lately, or know how he's doing? Because he seems like
a little
hard to even know.
Yeah, a little, not enough, man. I know he's. I've been in touch with him here and there, yes. And man, that makes my heart ache. Mike was such a good band member, a great fiddle player, and really knew how to listen and just play what the songs called for. He just played with the spirit of the song in mind all the time, and that was that's what you need. But yeah, as far as his current situation, I know he's doing a lot of just physical training and physical therapy to bring his left side back in. But I know that it's been 5 years now since his injury, and I would love to see him play fiddle again one day, but I don't think he's that close to that at this moment, from what I've seen and understood. But he's just staying positive and really just in considering, he's in great spirits and just working hard to get, his left leg and left arm and hand all back in under his control again. And but yeah, it's really sad to see how that happened, and it's just so unexpected. That's just out of nowhere, It's just, man, can't take anything for granted, that's for sure.
Yeah. On a topic change here, I was listening to a recording of Blue Night, the song Blue Night, where Ricky was playing, and I keep telling myself I'm hearing a minor 5 chord when he does Blue Night. Is that possible?
Absolutely.
Like it goes, if you're doing it in G, we play the D minor as the 5. Is that a thing he would do?
That was a Ricky-ism for sure. Oh. If you listen to many of his instrumentals, I mean, not all of them, of course, but many of them, Crossville, Ancient Tones, going to the Kaylee on the B section, I guess. He loved that sound of a 1 chord to a minor 5, and maybe throw in a flat 7 in there into the mix as well. But it's that Mixolydian mode. He calls it mountain minor. It makes sense. But it's got a more mysteriousness about it. It's less happy and so major and so, T-do. It's that flat 7 thing. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it pairs well with the actual flat 7 chords, so G, F, D minor, G, or whatever. And we did that in so many of his tunes. That was just a signature Skaggs-ism for sure. And kind of has like an Irish sound to it. Kind of has this, just a mysteriousness that's a little different. And I loved that. So, yes, he did that in Blue Night, Little Maggie, many of the vocal tunes too. Walls of Time. Oh man, I could name off a bunch of others where that was the thing if I just had time to think. But yeah, that's a common thing he does. So you're not hearing that wrong. That's exactly what's going on.
I was trying to explain to my friends at Jam that they could do it that way, and they're going, well, "No, you can't do that. That's not right." And I said, "Well, I know I've heard it done, but whatever." So I'm not crazy.
It's absolutely possible. But yeah, the only thing you got to worry about is if the singing, you can kind of convert many songs to doing that if you want to, but the thing is you just have to make sure the melody is not singing an F sharp over that 5 chord. Because you're going to play an F natural when you minor it to a D minor, for example. And so if you're singing a 5, if you're singing the A note or you're singing the root, the D note of that D chord, and you want to minor it, it might be worth the try. It might be worth the try, and it can often work. But it's gonna change the vibe of the tune just a little bit. It's gonna give you that sort of slightly bluesy, slightly mysterious kind of sound. But it's such a sound. It's a great sound.
Yeah, it seems like Monroe in some of his songs would have that clashing like minor second, like a major 7th chord with a major melody or something. I mean, I'm thinking of Can't You Hear Me Calling? Sometimes that the harmony on the 4 chord would be like if it's in C, would be like a F major 7.
Right.
So there's definitely a clash that was in your head. And what is that really? But it was a pretty cool sound.
Yeah. I know exactly. It's like you're hanging on to the harmony note that you would have done over the 1 chord is that 3rd, and then that note becomes the major 7 of the 4. And just it's like there's a pedal tone going on. There's a drone going on when that same note comes in on the harmony. It wouldn't sound right if that's what you did out of the gate, but where you played the 1 chord first and sang that note and then kept it the same. It's like,
you hold it. Right.
Yeah, I see the theme. I see what's going on there. But yes, exactly a good example. I love that too.
Let's talk about guitars a little bit. Do you like to stick with the guitar you have and like and trust, or are you constantly trying, buying, being given new guitars? How does that work for you?
I like to try anything just to try it, sure. But I've really fallen in love with my Collings gear over the years. I was with them informally years ago because I just owned their guitars because I loved them, and then but I got a deal, like an informal deal, playing Preston Thompson guitars, but had some setup struggles with them on a few of them, and I just got burned out. I love them all, but I probably won't own one of their guitars ever again personally. I haven't owned one since 2019, so that's the way I think of the past. So then at that point, I was frustrated. I went back to my Collings, and I messaged Mark Althans at Collings, and he's always so responsive. And I said, I'm free. I would love to get a good rosewood guitar in my hands. I'm happy to pay for it. I don't care. I just want a great guitar that's rosewood, because that's what Ricky liked. And my Collings at that time was only a mahogany guitar, which I shouldn't say only. I love mahogany. I probably prefer it at the end of the day, maybe. But I wanted to have a good big old rosewood guitar, so Mark got his head together with the guys down there, and they built me a Madagascar rosewood traditional. It's a monster. Ricky loved that guitar. I love that guitar. It's one of those back there, and man, it's a monster. But then since then, they've been building these hill country guitars. This is one right here, and some other things in the works down there in Austin right now that I'm going to check out too. But man, I've loved their guitars. I've loved the relationship I have with them. But I'm not, I'm not afraid to try something. Sure, I think that like Ken Hooper, man, I love his guitars. He's making really great small builder style guitars, But I've got a shade top from him. It's a great guitar. I might get a different neck at some point that I like the shape on a little better, but he's building great guitars. What else have I seen? I know that there's like Caleb Smith is building great guitars. I've never owned them. I almost was gonna pull the trigger on an old. I did have an old 46 D18 Martin, and then I sold that earlier this year, and almost was gonna put that towards a 37 D18 that I didn't pull the trigger on. There is a particular 1937 D18 out there, a different one than this one that I almost bought, that Vince Gill owns, that I would love to own. That's the one that my sights are on. If I don't ever get it, that's okay. But if I was to splurge a lot of money on a guitar, an old vintage one, that'd be the one. But I don't know, man. I've played a lot of old guitars. I've played a lot of new guitars, and when I play this right here, I'm excited to play it. I love how it sounds, and I'm not wishing I had an old one when I'm holding this one. I know that it doesn't have all the mojo and history, but it also doesn't have all the problems and the liability and whatnot. So I'm kind of very much okay playing what I'm playing. It doesn't matter to me. I'm more about the making myself a great player than worrying about having that perfect old vintage trophy. There's a lot of guys that have those that can't play them. So no offense, but it's the honest truth, and I'm kind of tired of that hoarding mentality. I'd love to have just a really good guitar, and then focus the rest of my effort and time and money, whatever, into my playing, versus the opposite, which you see way too much. So yeah, man, Collings has been great. Ken Hooper's a great guy. Those two are probably the ones that that inspire me the most. But I haven't even pulled the Hooper out in a few weeks here. Maybe months, but when it comes to electric guitars, Collings as well is at the top of the game. I love Suhr guitars. Recently, been liking Tom Anderson guitars. I think there's a lot of great electrics out there in the world. I have no deals with like Suhr or Tom Anderson, so if I'm to buy one of those, I'm buying it. And I'm not afraid to spend a little money on something I like, but I'm not. I don't need to necessarily. If I just stuck with Collings for both my acoustics and my electric needs, man, I'd be happy from the get go, nonstop, man. It's just they're at the top of the game, I think.
Mm-hmm. I've often thought, and I've heard musicians, famous ones in jazz, like for example Teddy Wilson, the great jazz pianist. I heard him in a bar in Connecticut playing a shitty old upright, and he just sounded like Teddy Wilson from Benny Goodman Band. He just had that sound. It didn't really matter what he was playing. And I know even one of the most famous albums, Manzanita album, Tony Rice played an ovation on a lot of that. And so I think you're right. It's not really it's the player, not the instrument. I mean, a good player can make a shitty instrument sound good, but a bad player, you can give him the best guitar in the world, he's not going to sound that great. So but people, like you say, they hoard them. They like to have them. It's a prestige thing. It just seems kind of silly to me too.
Yeah. No, to me, Yeah, if you have a vintage guitar like that and then you play the heck out of it, okay, that's awesome, you know. You know, someone like Vince Gill, he's a great musician, great player, obviously, and he does own a big collection, and I'm so fine with that. Or Joe Bonamassa with his collection. He's nuts, but he's earned it, man. Those guys have earned it. But yeah, and but there's some guys that I don't think, you know, they have the money to buy those guitars, and you know they take them out of the hands of the players that could use them. So I've just kind of sworn off that market. I don't care. I really just don't care. If a good one comes around for the right price, I'll consider again. But I'm not eager or worried about that. That's for sure.
Yeah. You know, you're very much known for clean, fast soloing, but would you agree that rhythm guitar playing is just as important in a bluegrass band as or maybe more important?
Oh,
more important.
By strides, more important. Yeah. And that's why I held the gig with Ricky, is the rhythm side of it. He loved my rhythm and my drive, my attention to the moment, you know, when it's supposed to push a little or get louder, get softer. He loved how I knew how to read those situations and play my rhythm accordingly, you know. And I also think that he enjoyed that I wasn't overly busy in my rhythm. I think groove is not about cramming a bunch of bass walks and passing chords and syncopated things. That's, some people do that, and Tony did that, but he did it really well. He was so good at it. I think there's a lot of players out there trying to imitate Tony that don't do a good job of it, and it's distracting. I've played with it before in jams, and it's frustrating. I don't like playing to rhythm like that. I'd rather take rhythm that's a little simpler and groovier, that's supportive and not trying to nudge their way to the spotlight. You got to know who's in charge at any given time. If it's the singer, you need to make them sound better. If it's the soloist, you need to make them sound better, whatever that means in your situation. But I think busy rhythm can be distracting, and it's got to be really careful with it. And I'm not a huge fan of it. And in a big band like Kentucky Thunder with 7 guys, it doesn't need to be crazy. It needs to be driving. It needs to be in pocket. It needs to be meshing with the bass. But it doesn't need to be stuff that you're hearing like all these crazy fills and busyness out of me. You don't need that. You just need a good groove. And Ricky loved that. And I love playing rhythm. I love that supportive role. I play gigs just as a duet with my wife, and you know, I love filling out that sound in that situation. And I might do more in that situation because it's just me being the, you know, bass player, the mandolin player, the guitar player. It's like I'm kind of doing all that in one when it's just a duet setting. But in a big band, I'm going to definitely keep the rhythm simple and just make it grooving and driving. And using your ears to listen is, I mean, that's just number one with any band. You got to listen to each other so you know what the song needs, what to do and what not to do.
Yeah, I mean, I find that people learning bluegrass especially always overplay. You know, I teach some bluegrass classes, and there might be 3 guitar players in the class of 7, and they're all trying to play a lot at once. And the hardest thing is to get them to look, just either stop playing and listen to the group for a while, or just play very simple, quiet stuff. But it gets loud and overdone and busy, and as you say, it just loses the groove because there's just too much going on. I hear even like a lot of really good players, same as you say, overplaying and like just trying to fill every second with noise, and it's just too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yep. Yeah.
I remember Tony Rice, who played here quite a few times for us, talking about playing with J.D. Crowe, and I guess Tony thought he was a pretty good rhythm player until J.D. got hold of him and really settled him down and said, "No, boy, this is what you got to do to me in my band." And I think that really took Tony from being a good guitar player to a great one, was that rhythm he learned in that band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think what that story proves is that, you know, playing with others, that, you know, that getting out and really playing with people is where you learn great rhythm. I think there's a little bit of a danger in our current world where there's a lot of social media influencers and bedroom guitar players, you know, guys that haven't gotten out and really ever played in a real band, but they're sitting there on YouTube teaching bluegrass guitar and rhythm techniques, and it's like, sorry, bro, none of this is believable. It's just not. I just don't believe it. Get out and really be a musician, really play and play with someone. They don't have to be J.D. Crowe, but just playing with anybody will teach you about what you'll be like, oh man, that lick that I thought was great within my rhythm, that fill that I thought would be so cool just doesn't really work. Simpler is much groovier, much better a lot of the time. And so, and then also like the jam band kind of vibe that's happening. I'm cool with it. It's not my thing, but I'm cool with it, and it is fun. There's no doubt it's fun, and it's like a rock concert, and it's 7-minute guitar solos or whatever. It's there's something about it, but it makes all of us think we need to be really, really busy all the time, and so we're between the social media thing and hiding behind our cameras where we can do a billion takes. And we've all been guilty of that. I've been guilty of trying way too many times to get something right. I'm like, you know what? This isn't what it's all about. And anyway, but the danger of social media and the pressure to, put something cool online, but then having the ability to do too many takes or not be out really experiencing how this rhythm's going to really feel. But then teaching it, we're teaching young people sometimes wrong things by this. And then also the jam band mentality might be taking the young people away from focusing on what this music is founded on. Bill Monroe had this rockabilly energy to his band, and doesn't mean it was fancy. It just felt good. And that's what it's all about. And so I think, the focus and the things that young kids are prioritizing right now, and fortunately or unfortunately, the tools they have at their disposal these days, YouTube and slowing down apps and things like that. Man, I didn't have any of that for the longest time. I use them now, sure, I'm glad that I struggled when I was younger the hard way to learn the guitar. A lot of watching people in real time at jam sessions, like just that built me into more of a tank of a guitar player than if I would have had, I've been able to hide behind YouTube and technology too much. I'm grateful I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
I was listening to your duo with Julian Lage on Lady Be Good, the Gershwin classic song. It's up on YouTube now. And I love, one thing I love about his playing is that his solos are he's almost singing with the guitar. They're very vocal, a lot of pauses, a lot of phrasing. When you play with someone like Julian, do you try to play more like a conversational style back and forth with him? I don't know how often you get to play with someone like that, but I feel like it becomes like almost like a conversation rather than sometimes it's a show-off thing with two guitar players. Like, if we did that, I can do this. But with him, I thought it was a really nice conversation going on.
Yes, definitely. We did a couple tunes, and on both tunes, it was absolutely a conversation. And with Julian, I've only played with him that one time. I hope it happens again. But a great learning experience just to be around him and see how he would approach stuff. But you don't get any competitive energy whatsoever. He's just the best, and he just really wants to create a great musical moment, and it's about that moment and enjoying what's happening here and now that he's excited about, and capturing something that will only happen this one time, just like this. And so it was very much a conversation playing against each other, and and I would love to do that again. I would approach it even better. I'd play better, I felt like on Lady Be Good, listening back, I noticed that because he's when he plays the swing style, he's in general, he's such a laid back on the back of the beat player, and I incorrectly follow that throughout that piece. If you listen, and I listen to it now and I'm like, man, dang it. Why didn't I could do that better? Because what I would do is I'm on the front of the beat, being a bluegrass player. So when I hear him playing on the back of the beat, I'm trying to get his back of the beat more at least at center. So I keep slowing my rhythm down. So the song drags, and it's my fault, and I know this. And very much a learning experience. But it's like you think you know something, and you're like, man, I'm a front of the beat player. Being a bluegrass guy, I need to, and I can swing, but I have to, playing one-on-one without something else like a bass or whatever to help, the rhythm section isn't just me when he's soloing, it's somebody else. Then I'm probably not going to drag, but I wasn't. I also would probably admit that I was so engaged in what he was doing that I probably was getting a little loosey-goosey on my end, because I'm so excited about what he's playing. He's just playing so inspired and so fun. It was just, humbling, but more so inspiring than anything playing with him, because he's such an amazing musician and a great mind, great hands, all of it. It's just, it was really, really fun. But I noticed things about my own playing that need improvement. When we played the other number, we did the more bluegrassy thing. We still got very outside. It was very much a conversation, but it was more my wheelhouse, more like I was comfortable. I felt like the groove stayed where we wanted it, where we put it, to begin with. But Lady Be Good, there was this slight fluctuation in tempo. Anytime I took over rhythm, I needed to let him swing like he wanted to swing. So when I'm backing up to his back of the beat notes. It's like the whole thing's dragging. Then he's probably going to try and pull it back even harder. So it was subtle, but it was noticeable occasionally.
Yeah.
So
do you get the same thrill improvising in jazz? You hear me? I'm stopped there. Yeah, so just wondering about improvising in a jazz setting versus bluegrass. Do you get a similar excitement? Do you feel like you have to play differently? I mean, obviously the songs are different, but like, do you approach it differently playing jazz as opposed to bluegrass? I know you play both and studied both, and
yeah. I mean, definitely similar things. Where it's like I still kind of picture the neck in similar ways. I like to picture my chord tones, my triads, and then build tension around them. But I guess I'll spend more time looking for those deeper tensions, stuff that you find like over an altered dominant 5 chord, flatting and sharpening your 2, flatting and sharpening your 5, pairing those note choices with 3 and flat 7. Like, I'm thinking this way rather than think of like, ooh, I'm going to play my altered scale now, or my mixolydian scale. I understand all these and what they are, but that's not how I want to think, because that's where I get sounding scaly. I don't like that. I want to sound like I'm playing, I'm choosing notes because those notes are the right ones that can do something for me, and that means I might skip some notes of the scale just to choose the ones I want, that type of thing. So, anyway, but I think my mind is in a similar space, though I'm trying to lay back rhythmically, trying to, play with some space between notes maybe a bit more. In bluegrass, I'll sometimes drive too many eighth notes at once, you could say. And in jazz, I guess if you're playing bebop, you can have that kind of sound, But I think in many situations, you want to ease in, In the beginning of my solo, and there, in a jazz setting, I might have some space between notes and look for more color, especially when there's a 5-to-1 relationship. The 1 chord going to 4, you can alter some things about that G to bring it harder to the C, and then when it's 5-to-1, you've got your 2 5s as well, and you might have like secondary dominance and whatever in there. So I'm often like looking at 5 chord dominant 7th opportunities when I'm playing jazz, and that's where you can, alter things a bit more to get the color. But yeah, I think when I've been playing a lot of bluegrass, it takes me a sec to jump over and just be a swing player all of a sudden. But I'm a pretty good one when I'm in the zone. But it's, I'm still learning there. I've got lots to learn. But I enjoy it. It's a similar mindset, just a little different rhythmically, and looking for more of the color to pop out, less strong roots and fifths all the time.
Yeah.
But
so when you're in a bluegrass band, you're playing a song and your solo coming up. Are you thinking about what you're going to play before you play? Or you're just like let it go and let your hands just go?
Sometimes an idea will pop in, or whoever took the previous solo might have done something that I want to answer. They did something, so I want to answer by echoing that rhythmic motif or whatever it is. And so, I don't know. I try to definitely play more in the moment. Like, I try and not be just saying, oh, I'm going to play this solo that I worked out at home, perfectly note for note. I don't like that as much. I'd feel guilty if I ended every show just playing stuff I'd perfectly rehearsed note for note, like just a robot. And some guys do that, and I'm less inspired by that. I don't care how polished it is. It's like it didn't feel like it matched the moment. What do I feel right here and now? That's what matters. So I'm definitely leaving some room for that. But I'll also have, my hand has licks that it likes. It has muscle memory in there. It has things it might do, but they might just come out in a different order with a different intensity, or whatever. Or I might rhythmically displace them kind of in a funky way, whatever my mood is in the moment. So yeah, there's going to be some of that. But I will, if my solo's coming up, though, the one thing I might think through is like, what is the melody? What is that first melody note? I might not quote the melody all the way through the solo, but that first, a couple bars, I might just grab a couple target notes so that the song is still whatever, How Mountain Girls Can Love, or whatever it was. It's like I'd try and catch like the root and the fifth, and kind of grab those, but I might do them hit them in different ways or whatever. And then after that, I might just barrel through a bunch of runs and things. But everything I do would always be catered to the chord I was on top of. I wasn't shooting for scales. I was looking at, hey, it's a G chord, then it's a D chord, and hitting chord tones with some tension mixed in, but yeah, a little bit of melody would have come to mind. That might be something I target that's semi-specific, but even then my mood might take me beyond that, and I just go for some crazy lick right out of the gate that has nothing to do with the song. Sometimes the mood hits you, and you just go with it. So, but yeah, absolutely allowing some give. Have some template solos. I definitely had some template solos on especially the faster songs with Ricky.
Mm-hmm.
I had some template solos on those where I might do Rawhide, 4 nights in a row, and you'll hear some similar things, maybe in a little different order, but I'll weave in and out of things I've done before, sure, just to have something that can be executed on those fast songs. But then other times I'd totally go off and go somewhere different, for better or worse. Sometimes it would fall apart, and I was like, well, definitely wasn't as strong. But other times it would be even cooler. It's like, hey, see, that was me feeling it in the moment. So, but it's always exciting when a solo's approaching and trying to not overthink it. Yeah, I think that's part of the name of the game. Try to not overthink it and let your feelings impress what you might choose to play.
Yeah. I think it was a quote from John Coltrane. If someone asked him, how do you learn to play like you play? He said, well, you practice for 5 years and then forget everything you learned and just play.
Yep.
That was interesting. Like because you can't be thinking too much when you're playing, because you're going to just, like you say, you're going to be playing scales or modes or pre-rehearsed stuff. But if you're in the moment, maybe you just go with because obviously your fingers know what to play and how to play it. It's just like getting your mind out of the way, maybe.
Yep, and when I was little, not little, but just younger, learning music theory and whatnot, it's like I always felt like, man, I've got to have an explanation for why that chord was in this song. The songwriter had to have a mathematical reason that worked. When now I just realized, you know what? A songwriter or a soloist can play anything they want to play because that's it. There's their only reason, just because. And if they play it with spirit and energy and confidence, that very wrong, unacceptable, theory explained note, it's still good. It's great. It'll work because they meant it, and they meant it. And sometimes the dissonance is like, you can sell a lot by playing with confidence and with meaning behind it. So I don't get too I'm kind of the opposite now, where I just realize, hey, anything can go. Any note is an option at any time. There's no theory police out there telling us you can't do something. And so you just have to realize that sometimes a songwriter or a soloist, they just did something, and you can't explain it. What I do know is that any note you play, if there's a chord going on behind you, any note you play has a relationship to that chord. So you can't explain why they did it, but you can at least say what it is. Like, oh, it's a sharp 5 or a flat 6. Kind of a weird note at that time, I'll be honest, but that's what it is. I know what it is. I know how it relates, and I know how it sounds. It's like, yeah, that sounds just like a sharp 5 would sound, but it's like, why did they choose to play it? Not always a great explanation, and it depends on the song. Sometimes it's like an altered dominant 5 chord in jazz, and it was like, well, yeah, they're wanting those altered sounds, so a sharp 5 makes complete sense. It's got that augmented sort of nature, right? And so, it pulls you hard from G to C or whatever. Anyway, So yeah, you don't need to wait for a scale to tell you what to do, or any lick you've learned from somebody in the past to tell you what to do. You can just in the moment hit something,
Yeah,
it's cool.
So I play guitar, and about a year ago I started playing mandolin because I had to in my classes. Can you talk a little bit about how you, as a guitarist, approach the mandolin? For example, playing without a capo, what's the toughest key in the mandolin for you? Are there certain keys that are more of a challenge, or are you just gonna figure out the thing you're in and just go with it?
Sure. Like I don't enjoy playing in A flat or D flat or whatever like that on a mandolin. I can get by, but I'll probably, if I know I'm going to be doing that for a show, I'll probably rehearse it a little bit and kind of get my fingers wrapped around it a bit. And to be clear, I play way less mandolin throughout a week than I do guitar. And so I don't put in the practice hours on mandolin because I don't care. I guess you could say I love it, but I'm not in pursuit of being the hottest mandolin player. That's not, guitar is what I do. But when I play the mandolin, I feel like, technique and everything's very similar. I don't change my pick. I don't change my grip. I don't change anything. I just have to calibrate to the mandolin. Spacing is a little tighter, so I calibrate to it. But as far as the approach, I kind of like like the fact that the mandolin makes you, it feels different. Like the key of G feels different than A. Oh crap! I lose you again.
I hear you, but so let's keep going.
What did you last hear?
Well, we're talking about the mandolin, how you pretty much approach it the same way, same pick. You just have to adjust your fingers to the different. Obviously, playing an A or G or D is different on the mandolin. With a capo on guitar, you're kind of up and down the neck. You can play pretty much the same patterns.
I kind of like, though, that it forces me to do different things. I mean, like I was saying, if you caught it, I don't like playing in A flat or D flat or those, I don't like to. But I can, you can get around. I think the tuning of the mandolin requires that you have 4 notes per string, depending on the lines you might need to play. But you often will have 4 notes per string or more. So the fingering can be kind of funky that way. But I do like that it makes me play, like when you play in G versus you play in A, I like that they feel different. I think that's kind of refreshing. A guitar, it's like playing in G and then A and then B flat and B, they're all the same thing, just up, I mean, it's that, so your licks become the same and you can play yourself into corners, play yourself into ruts and play less inspired because you're too much in the same thing over and over again, So I like that mandolin forces you to change that up a little bit. I like writing tunes on guitar. Many of the tunes on my upcoming record will have no capo, but I'm covering keys from G to A to C to D to open B to open E, and yeah, when I said A, I meant open A a minute ago. Like that's like I just think that's making me find new territory, on the guitar. So I'm kind of doing the mandolin thing, but on the guitar, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's very few guitar players I can think of that can play anything without a capo. David Greer and Jim Hurst are two that come to mind that they don't really need the capo. They can play a fiddle tune in any key or any song, any key without capoing up. It's a challenge, I guess, right?
Yeah.
If you're,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good challenge. It's a good way to practice, just to get a melody going and then find a new spot on the neck to do it that's not your normal spot.
So after playing the guitar for a long time, what things do you still want to learn on the instrument or still feel you have to work on? Or want to work on?
I feel like there's a whole world of stuff. I don't necessarily turn to bluegrass studying for that next level of inspiration. Not that I don't love it, and not that there's more that I could study, because of course there is, but sometimes I go to other genres. Like I would love to get better at gypsy jazz or Irish music. And the biggest obsession lately has just been the electric guitar language, from rock to jazz to blues to anything. Just the left hand moves differently, more slurring, more, just more melodic kind of phrasing. I can't describe all the little, just the little ornaments and things you hear, but it's different than we hear in bluegrass. Bluegrass can be robotic if you're not careful, and trying to bring in some of that sass and attitude that an electric guitar can have. And so I've been really loving working more on the electric guitar language side of it lately. That's just kind of like when I have free time to practice, I often grab an electric. I think it's just new and fresh. And any ideas I come up with there, I bring them back to bluegrass, bring them back to the acoustic guitar. And it works the other way too. A lot of electric guitar lines I might work out were bluegrass inspired originally, and then I just kind of tweak them a little to fit the electric more or whatever. But man, I feel like it never ends, and there's so much to learn in this world that, not that I'm maxed in bluegrass by any means, but I feel like my style in bluegrass has always been shaped by outside influence. And then I just bring it back and I ride the bluegrass line enough to call it bluegrass. But I've never been Tony Rice or whatever Doc Watson, whatever you might think is the center of the bluegrass guitar sound, whatever that is. I've never been right in that center. I've never tried to be. I've kind of always quoted it, poked at it, but I'm more so, letting me be me as much as I can, and I think that's been really healthy, and why I've kind of got a sound that's unique. I think it's important to not be the same thing as everybody else, unless you just want to do this for fun. But I've made this my life. I've made guitar my thing. I can't just be another clone of Tony Rice. He's already done it,
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of guys, doing that, and they do Tony Rice well, but yeah, it's like nobody will ever do it better than Tony. And so if I want to hear that, I'll listen to Tony. I want to be Jake Workman. I want to be the first Jake Workman is what I want to be.
Well, he was the first one to say, "Don't play like me. I already do that." So,
Yep.
I've heard him say it many times.
Oh yeah.
That don't play like me. That's you're not doing anything original. Just play like yourself. And
Yeah, and
but you're right. A lot of guys do copy that style. But
I've loved that he's said that, because he's the one that gets cloned the most, certainly, and but he himself is the one saying that and saying, you don't need to be me. What do you have to offer? And that's kind of how I've always looked at it, just being myself from day one. And what's my personality? I think if you can sense somebody's true personality coming out in their playing, they're doing a good job. And I know many players that can do that, and I've met players that I don't think do that. But I've Ricky Skaggs, just his stanky bluegrass personality all over in his mandolin playing. Tony had personality, I think Dennis Parker, who played with Ricky when I was there, he did mandolin and guitar, but when he just does his thing on the side, man, he's got so much emotion and personality in his playing. Stuart Duncan, full of personality in his playing. Jerry Douglas, I feel like you just, especially when you know the person and then you see how they play their instrument, it's like you can see, oh man, you're just talking through your instrument. You're just being you. Love that. So when I see a young kid or an adult, whoever, that's not Tony Rice, just emulating Tony Rice, it's like, it's not you though. That's just my opinion. It's not you. So, who are you? What do you have to bring to the table musically? There's got to be something in there. So you got to find it. You got to find that.
Did you ever get any great advice you can recall about the music business that maybe later you said, he was right about that, or I should have done that, or maybe, I don't know, anything like that come to mind? That's a tough question because you're kind of revisiting all the people you've talked to over the years, but I just was curious, anything stick out in your head?
Yeah, not really that I'd have to think for a second. I'm trying to, a lot musically, like playing music, the whole idea of less is more. That's always, I don't know where I would have first heard that exactly, but playing with Ricky, I rhythmically learned that less was more, the rhythm side of things, and that's always stuck. But music business, I don't ride the music business. I don't do the typical things. I teach private lessons a lot, and I play gigs on the side. Now I'm on the side just with whatever comes my way. I teach at camps. It's like, I feel like, I guess maybe the biggest thing is if you're going to be a musician and you want to succeed in this business, you need to have your efforts in multiple places. For me, it's the performing and this, like, recordings and things like that for people, but the biggest part of my playing has been teaching. So being a teacher, being a performer, trying to get better and be good at both, conveying these concepts, how to do this technique or whatever it is, being able to translate that to people so they can remember it and learn it. And then also be able to get up on stage and be a performer and navigate that scenario, which is a different thing. Like, I think being good is as many things as you can be. And that could be including genres. Be good in as many genres as you can be so you can teach. If you're going to be a teacher, I'm teaching. My first lesson today was on jazz. It was a jazz, like, chord melody on Misty with this girl that's working it up. And so it didn't even start with bluegrass. My second lesson is with a guy that bluegrass was brand new to him. He's interested in the technique, but we didn't even get into bluegrass. All we did was talk technique about the right hand. And then I'm here sitting with you, and I can't remember who's up next, but we'll see what we get into. It might be bluegrass, it might be something else. And anyway, it's every day I'm covering so much ground, and then I'm also playing mandolin with a few students, banjo with other students. It's like electric guitar with some students. So it's just nice to have the options there. And then I'll take gigs that are on electric guitar. I'll take gigs on acoustic guitar or mandolin, whatever, So it's nice to just I can be a call for many different things. I think that's part of the name of the game, is being versatile.
Yeah. If you could have sat down and played music with anybody in music history, just sit on the couch and jam for a couple hours, is there anybody that you wish you had the opportunity to do that with, or still might?
Man, that's a good question. There's still opportunities that may come up. I'd love to sit down and pick Chris Thiele's brain for a couple hours, and he's around and at the top of his game. He's not going anywhere. So one day maybe that opportunity will come around. Trying to think of somebody in the past. I would have loved to sit with Tony Rice for sure. I saw him in person, never did meet him, but I saw him in person maybe twice from a distance. It's about as close as it got. Man, yeah, there's probably some electric guitar players that fascinate me, both modern and maybe in the past, but that I would love to sit with. Um, uh, yeah, maybe Jack Gardner. He's this guy from the UK, fusion kind of shredder. He just does all sorts of
Yeah.
he just does
Yeah.
techniques so different than I do. A lot of sweep picking, a lot of tapping, and I don't know. I just love to sit with some more guys like that, just to learn new language. I would love to sit with Django Reinhardt. You know, there's a few gypsy players for sure I would sit with. Yosko, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
Yosko Stefan, and
Steve, yeah, right.
we know each other, I believe, but we'd never met or anything. You know, but him or Borelli Lagrane. I don't know how you say his name, but I would love to sit with him and just study. But you know, with many of the bluegrass heroes, I have sat with them. So notice I'm not mentioning David Greer or Bryan Sutton or Kenny Smith, but I have sat with them and I've had these experiences with them. So I don't value them any less. I just don't need to mention them because it's happened. I've been very blessed to play with a lot of heroes, you know. I would have said Ricky Skaggs years ago, but then I played with him for 10 years. There's been some notes shared, you know, absolutely. So a lot of the bluegrass heroes I have sat with. I didn't with Tony or with Doc Watson. You know, there's some people like that I would love to have gotten to know and go back in time and just trade secrets. Man, that would have been a blast. But there's a few modern guys for sure that I would love to get to know and have that opportunity with, and maybe it will, you know. Julian Lage would have been one I would have said until it happened this year. So I've played with him now, but I would love to do that again, you know, over and over, man. There's so much to learn from him.
Yeah. Yeah, I see you had this real interest in that kind of swing Django jazz kind of stuff. Seems like you would like to do that.
I'm fascinated by it. Yeah, I'm fascinated by it. I don't want to. I shouldn't say I don't want to. I would love to have the time to be an incredible, like, that's my thing, swing type player, but I don't know if that'll ever happen. It's just kind of like I love the language. I love understanding how to use it in a musical way, not in a forced, just nonsense way. I like to make sense of you know, using it where the spirit really directs it to be used, you know, so it really works. But I just love the language. I love understanding it. I love wrapping my mind around things that can kind of be confusing, or trying to look at the fretboard where things are kind of blind and it's hard to see those weird note choices that I hear, but I don't always know where to get my finger to go get them until I build some muscle memory around them, you know. I mean, I know where the notes are at, but getting my fingers to want to go there in real time, you know, you can just practice like anything, right? So, but I love stretching my hand into new places. I don't go to bluegrass for my biggest inspiration anymore. Just like I say, kind of you're playing into a corner. I want a bigger bag of tricks, you know. And so I go to everything else, and then I bring them back to bluegrass. I tailor them so that I'm still honoring bluegrass. I don't want to just be a swing player in a bluegrass tune. I want to be a bluegrass player with some swing nods, just here and there maybe, or just something kind of goofy with some personality, you know. But yeah, and again, none of this trying to be thinking too hard, trying to do it a little more naturally.
Yeah. So any particular goal for the next couple of years? I know you're working, you said, on a new project.
That would be the biggest musical goal. Yeah, that'd probably be the biggest musical goal, is that, yeah, I need to get my stuff together. I mean, I've got the material, got the tunes. I need to practice them some, but I need to get. We've had a conflict of schedules with the band, with my members. That I'm same band as my last record, basically, but we just haven't nailed down dates, and so just kind of planning to do that. Waiting to hear back from a couple of them on when their free weeks will be next spring. But that's kind of the goal. I need to get my I've got a right hand technique course filmed, and it's pretty in depth, but I need to get that finished. Yeah, that's, you know, some teaching material online, beyond my private lessons. I may venture into that world some.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Any question I should have asked you but didn't? Anything you're dying to talk about that you never got a chance to?
You covered it all, man. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. That's probably it right there.
Well, that was a good hour. It flew by. I appreciate you coming on. I think at one point I emailed you about maybe performing here with your wife, but I think that was before you had all the kids, and I think you're probably pretty tied down in Utah now.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we get out. I get out and do stuff with other collaborations too, so I still get out and play. But it might be doable. It might be just a year out or so. Get the newborn phase kind of passed on this last kid, and then we'll be all right. We've got grandparents nearby to take over. So yeah, maybe we can get out there. I'd love to. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank Jake Workman for coming on. I know you're a busy guy with lots of people trying to talk to you about all kinds of things, but I appreciate you coming on, and thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Take care.
I hope you enjoyed our podcast, and thanks for listening. Visit our website, guitartownct.com, for concert and podcast schedules, or just to send us a message. We'd love to hear from you.